Right. So this box here is 1.9 meters tall, which would put Patty about 6'3".
And you feel that that's totally accurate?
Yeah, high degree of accuracy.
Well, look, I just want to thank you, Dave, for finally putting this mystery to bed once and for all.
So wow. I mean, that's big news, right? The Patterson Bigfoot, once thought to be a giant, is only 6'3". That's not so big. I mean, I'm 6'2", so 6'3" is no big deal. But if you watch the whole show, you see that this TV show, Expedition Bigfoot, that's exactly what they wanted. They told us earlier in the show they wanted Patty to be small. Have a listen.
There's still one thing no one knows for sure: how big this creature was. And I believe we have the technology to finally solve that mystery. And this could greatly affect how we do our research. For example, all we have to go by right now is witness testimony that says Bigfoot are extremely tall. But what if we determine Bigfoot is actually much smaller? It expands the amount of evidence we should be looking at, like branch breaks closer to the ground, or tree structures that are smaller than the one Ronnie and Maria just found, or even smaller footprints. Should all be taken into account.
Right there, he just said it. What if Bigfoot was much smaller? What if Bigfoot wasn't big? Is what Expedition Bigfoot was just saying right there. And they said how much easier that would make their lives. Now, any little old footprint they find, it's a Bigfoot. And that's a new show. Any little small branch broken anywhere, it's a new show. Any little clump of sticks. Now, everything they see is going to get to be Bigfoot if Bigfoot isn't big. So this guy right here, he just had the nerve to declare he and his show the world's foremost expert on how big Bigfoot might be because they've got the technology. So I'm going to challenge their technology with just some simple common sense. Let's check it out. Okay, this is a photograph of Miss Macy Curran, famous for having the longest legs in the world. She's in the Guinness Book of World Records. Those are some long legs. But the question is, what was the camera height when this photograph was taken? Was it held way up by her head? No, because if it had been, that would skew the angles and make her legs look shorter. So it was obviously way down low to exaggerate how long her legs are. And if I square things back up a little bit and I start pushing straight in, just kind of dolly in, you can see that we're headed down towards her knees, which was about the camera height for this photo. So you can look at a photograph or video or film and work out where the camera was placed. Now we've got a screen grab from the Patterson film. Where was the camera? How high was the camera? Was Roger Patterson laying down on his stomach, filming up at Patty? No, because we would see where the trees in the background, well, let me square that up. We would see where they would look skewed. Was the camera held way up high on Patty? No, because that would make her look shorter. And again, looking at the trees, we would see they were skewed. So if I start dollying in on Patty, we can see the camera was held about equal with her midsection. Okay, so now we know 3 facts about that day back in 1967 that we've never known before. The world's foremost authority on Patty's height, Expedition Bigfoot, and Dave have told us Patty is a mere 6'3". Another fact we know is that when Patty was filmed, the camera was held about at her midsection level. The third fact that we know is that Roger Patterson, the man that filmed Patty, was 5'2" tall, over a foot shorter. So here's the mystery. How does a man that's 5'2", who's holding a camera up to his eye, looking through the viewfinder, the way they see there, holding the camera level, aiming it straight out and filming Patty. How is it that his camera height would be in her shoulder instead of down here? That just doesn't make any sense. Now, some might say, well, maybe Patterson was standing in a hole, a 3-foot deep hole. And yeah, that might have been true for a second, but we can watch the video. We see that Patterson was running at times, trying to keep up with Patty, who outran him by simply walking, which I did a video about years ago. So he couldn't have had like a 3-foot deep trench the entire distance he was running through. That's ridiculous. Because again, this is an old riverbed, and water has the tendency to level all sand. So the only thing that makes sense is if Patty's midsection were raised up to something about like that. This size difference right here explains everything. Okay, here is the expert in high precision measurements that Expedition Bigfoot sought out. And Dave here, he is not a scientist. It says right here, he is a visual effects artist. Guess what? So am I. I've got the same software he does. You don't hire visual effects artists to extract high precision measurements from old film footage. You just don't. They do special effects. And I'm about to show you where Dave here admits, hey, this is the first time, this was neat. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this.
Well, look, I just want to thank you, Dave, for finally putting this mystery to bed once and for all. I really appreciate all the hard work you put into this, and I think it's paid off in dividends.
Yeah, well, that is pretty exciting to jump on and do something like this. I mean, usually I apply my skills to put Hollywood monsters into films, not try and extract some data out of them.
Did you just hear that? Dave just admitted to us all that he does not do this type of thing. He does not extract high precision measurements from video. So nothing against Dave. Expedition Bigfoot is the one that put him in this awkward position. I'm sure Dave is a talented guy and a good guy. But Expedition Bigfoot sold him and this whole process as definitive proof. So how do you feel about them saying that Patty was only 6'3" now? Now, here is something cool that Expedition Bigfoot did. Either they or Dave or somebody went out and did a Lidar 3D scan of where Patty was filmed out at Bluff Creek. This, you're looking at a 3D Bluff Creek where they sawed off all the tops of the 3D trees so that they could look and see what they were doing. So you can get some really, I won't say high precision at all, but I'll say you can get some measurements that are within, maybe 3/8 of an inch, like from the distance from this tree to that tree. They can do that. But the problem with that is that Patty, they weren't able to scan Patty in. And this isn't like a state park or monument now. There's not like a little cement platform and where it says, Roger Patterson stood here 55 years ago and filmed Patterson, and here are her footsteps. This is an old wild riverbed, I'm sure this area has filled in and flooded out and washed out who knows how many times in 55 years. So this has all changed radically. And so any high precision they had with this Lidar all went straight out the window when they got to the point where they had to match the 3D forest to its 55-year-old self on the Patterson footage. Now, here is where Dave admits there was a problem. Have a listen. And also, he says something that's not quite true.
Right, so in other words, if you can triangulate where these landmarks are in relationship to each other, your software will tell you the measurements of anything in this film?
Yeah.
So
That's not quite true. I just said that LiDAR's cool. LiDAR is fairly accurate. You can measure distances that were scanned in. But Patty, again, wasn't scanned in. So all they can do is kind of now guesstimate and try to get close. So highly accurate, no.
With the trees in the background, is that all you need to determine how tall she is?
Had all this data in the background, but what we really lacked was some known point in the foreground that really helped us triangulate the scene. So we were hunting around for something that still exists to this day. It doesn't look like much in this footage. It's just this little spot right there. It's one little piece of branch that sticks up a fallen tree. That one spot there also lives in the scan, can be identified to this day. And there it is.
Oh my God, that's crazy that it's still there.
Yeah, it would be crazy if this old rotten tree was exactly where it was 55 years ago. I would say that's impossible. Because again, think about how many times this old riverbed flooded and all of these trees and all this debris got washed out or was at least moved and tossed around some. So all this high degree of accuracy they're dreaming about simply doesn't exist. Wildfires could have come through here. Or this thing could have just, look at it. We can already see this old tree that it was rotting and a big chunk of it was falling off 55 years ago. It would be highly unlikely that tree, I would say it would be impossible that tree quit decaying 55 years ago and is still right there exactly as it was 55 years ago. Okay, this is important. This is the finale. You're on the jury on this. Here is Expedition Bigfoot's smoking gun evidence. They expect you to believe that this rotten old tree over here on the left, we can see again big chunks falling off of it. They expect you to believe that this thing has survived fire, flood, and decay for 55 years and is now over here in their 3D scan. Do you believe that? And here's something else. This is it. This is the actual smoking gun here on the left. This broken off limb. And we can see in the Patterson footage that it comes out bent at an angle, like kind of an extreme angle. So answer me this. How did this log survive 55 years and is now in the future in better shape in that it's now sticking straight up out of the trunk? Look, it's like right angles on both sides. It is now perfectly upright. Do you believe that Dave and Expedition Bigfoot found the right piece of key evidence? Now, here's where the Expedition Bigfoot guys might pull me to the side and go like, dude, lighten up. It's just a TV show, man. And I would say, no. You sold yourself and Dave as the foremost experts and authorities in the world, and that Patty was only 6'3". And I'm not. I'm not going to let you get away with it. And I'll tell you, I wrote about this in my book, but like 7 years ago, this prestigious, international, multi-award-winning TV production company contacted me and said, hey, ThinkerThunker, do you want a TV show? And I'm like, are you kidding? And it was going to be me. I was going to be the brains back at some lab up in the mountains or something. And there's going to be a research team, you know, the boots on the ground, you know, they were going to be out sending evidence and things back to me and back and forth. And do you remember the Squamish Bigfoot, that lonesome thing way out there on the snow walking? They told me, tell everybody that's a bear. And I'm like, from day one, on my dream opportunity, I was fighting with the director. I'm like, I'm not going to say that's a bear because bears, their knees don't bend. They don't stride. That's not a bear. I don't know what it is, but it's not a bear. Yeah, but just say it's a bear, you know? And we fought, and I pretty much ruined my dream job. So apologies to the other people working on that, but I was not going to lie to the public week after week. So reality TV is not reality. That's all I'm going to say. All right, everybody. That is all I've got. special thanks to one of my favorite subscribers ever, Jen Loves Horror. Jen was one of my first subscribers almost 100,000 subscribers ago. She's been there from the very beginning, a decade ago. She's still with me now. She's one of my patrons. She's even a YouTube member. She bought my book. Jen and her husband are great people. Miss Thunker and I think the world of them. And so when Jen contacted me not long ago and said, hey, did you see where Expedition Bigfoot found that Patty was only 6'3"? I felt like I deserved, or that I owed it to Jen to look into that for her. And I feel kind of bad because I know Jen and her husband really like this show. But at least now, Jen, you guys can look at this. You can look at my common sense evidence, and now you can weigh this for yourself. All right, everybody. Take care, and thank you all so much.